Watching News at Prime, let's continue the coverage now around the United States President's threat to cut funding to South Africa. The ANC is blaming lobby group AfriForum for what it says is a campaign of misinformation on the Land Expropriation Act. ANC's first Deputy Secretary General and the party's chairperson of International Relations, Nomvula Mokonyane, is with me this afternoon in studio. Very good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Afternoon, Oli, and afternoon to the viewers.
Thank you indeed for making time for us. How does the ANC view this? The introduction is quite clear. You blame AfriForum. What, in your view, has caused the president of a powerful country such as the US to listen to a lobby group?
I think part of what we are dealing with here is the extent of misinformation that has been done against South Africa, particularly around the progressive laws that we have taken. It is a demonstration also of the need for the United States of America to strengthen their own diplomatic relations with ourselves, and where there are issues to be engaged upon, as Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa has raised, there has to be mutual respect in terms of communication. The lobby groups are a danger to any stability, as we have seen the mess that AfriForum has done. We hope that President Donald Trump's advisors would actually advise. We know it's still early hours of the day in the United States now. We hope that they would advise him and make him to understand, firstly, the Constitution of South Africa that gives guarantees, the Expropriation Act that also does not talk about haphazard land grab, but that gives certainty that it is primarily for good public use and for development. Fourthly, that on the issues of funding in terms of health and health interventions, it constitutes 17% of the total spent, as Comrade Aaron has spoken about. However, it is also something that can't just be a decision, but we do respect the sovereignty of that country. We do respect the fact that they are considering these issues. However, we believe that the situation could have been handled better.
AfriForum does appear to appreciate the larger impact of this action, if indeed it were to happen. And they're saying that not everybody in South Africa should be punished. If anything, the President of the United States must target ANC leaders. It would appear that they are asking almost for targeted sanctions against the leaders of the ANC. How does that sit with you? How do you interpret that?
That's very racist of them, very reactionary of them, very unpatriotic. We have a government that is led by the African National Congress. Our progressive policies actually are meant for uniting South Africans, for promoting equality, for ensuring that there's inclusivity. They are now exposed about their commitment and determination for racial discrimination and self-enrichment in terms of how they see these opportunities, because they know they stand to benefit if there is no expropriation for future public development and public use. They know, as a matter of fact, that if we get affected in terms of the non-funding of some of the programs such as HIV and AIDS, they stand to benefit through the private sector, and our own constituencies would be the ones that are going to be disadvantaged. But we'll have to also go back to the drawing board as a nation, even as a government, to say, if we have this kind of a situation, what then happens? If there's going to be a targeted act against individual leaders of the ANC and individual leaders of government, let it come. Let's see how far it will actually go, because we all stand to benefit if there's mutual respect of sovereignty, of the constitutions and the rule of law. But we all stand to lose, because America itself stands to benefit in some of the programs that they themselves are sponsoring, including others beyond the health interventions and the undermining of the PEFA arrangements that we have always honored and been able to show that there is an impact. Nobody is indebted to the United States of America.
The interesting comment comes from the Democratic Alliance, who are GNU partners in this new government, and they are saying while it may not be perfect, the Expropriation Act, but there is a misconception that has been, I guess, understood by President Trump, and that's why they support President Ramaphosa having a conversation with President Trump. How do you view the DA's stance on it?
I think there's honesty in what they are raising, because the very Expropriation Act does give guarantee that the interventions don't actually take the form that AfriForum is actually alleging. And that we appreciate, because that's very patriotic. That is not even just about GNU, but it's in the good spirit of the South African Constitution and the laws of this country. It is so embarrassing also that you can find then such a supposed to be advanced democracy and its institutions that only through AfriForum there can then be a tweet that goes out and recklessly causes this kind of uncertainty and anxiety. But AfriForum must be known for what they are: racist, unpatriotic, very selfish, resisting towards doing away with discrimination and development. And one of the key things that led to wars of resistance in this country, which is the land issue.
The other party here, Action SA, we're hoping to speak to its leader, Herman Mashaba. He seems to hold a very, very strong stance that AfriForum should possibly be charged with treason, but we'll have to understand exactly where he comes from with that particular angle. But at the same time, I was listening to him earlier, he does suggest that, look, there's no doubt that there has been mismanagement of not just the economy, but the very many policies that the ANC has produced. How do you feel about the stance of the Action SA that says, yes, while there has been bad governance, if we could sum it up that way, from the ANC, AfriForum must actually be charged with treason for what they're doing?
We do acknowledge that there's been challenges over the past 30 years, but there's been a lot of good that has happened, including policies and implementation of policies. What has also been quite important is to appreciate that the Land Act, the NHI, the Bella Act were all signed under a GNU. We now have different forms of relations, even at a provincial and a local level, that also give everyone an opportunity to interact. As for what must happen to AfriForum, the immediate position that we hold is that they must be known for who they are. They are racists, they are people who cannot be trusted, they are not patriots. As to what law of this country have they violated, I don't think that it is still, it is timelessly for the ANC to then say they must be charged with treason. And by the way, I doubt if in our laws now we still have a law that can just be implemented through somebody just making an announcement. The days of Jimmy Kruger are gone. So there has to be processes to check, and then there must be enforcement of that law that helps to protect the sovereignty of our country.
I have very little time with you. Two quick questions before I let you go. Let me start with the statement you made earlier, that it's quite embarrassing for an advanced democracy to seem to take action based on a whim.
On gossip.
How do you think relations or communication can improve between South Africa and the United States at government level, government to government?
We must all continue to manage our relationships on the basis of the diplomatic relations that we have. We have an ambassador there. We have our own president who's available to be contacted. We've got our own minister. We have binational relations signed through agreements with the United States of America. Let's go back, and I think it will be wiser for that supposed to be advanced democracy to appreciate that we must all be active on the basis of rules. If we're not going to have a rule-based relationship, we'll have this chaos.
Final question. The Land Restoration Bill that was promised by the ANC. This is something different to
Yes.
expropriation. Temeka Ngcukaitobi, the advocate, sat there and said, where is it? Is it still in the offing?
The Restoration Bill is very important because it also deals with indigenous communities. It deals with the issues of culture. It deals with the issues of the future even of provinces and how we put up systems of government for development in our country. Yeah. It is something that must also go into the national dialogue that South Africa is going to be having, as it has been pronounced by the President. It has to continue being a topic, a subject that we all must now come and talk about it. Now that also these others have shown that we are carrying a burden as the majority of South Africans to forever correct those that are committed to perpetual separate development.
I have to squeeze this one in, please. Try and be short if you can. The leader of the EFF today suggesting that indeed South Africa's soldiers are held hostage by the M23 in DRC. And he even goes further to say there are suggestions now that the bodies of the deceased soldiers are possibly decomposing. That's the word he used. What is taking so long? What's the ANC's understanding of the repatriation process?
Firstly, we must continue to convey our condolences to the families, as well as wish those that have been injured well. This is an operation that is not based on hearsay or gossip or utterances coming from faceless people. I don't know who's the source of the leader of the EFF. Where we are, we believe that the situation is under control. Where we are as the ANC, we have resolved that let's leave this process to government. As government has already released the names, it means the bodies are known. Once they are handed over to the South African National Defence Force and the families, we can then be able to move on. We do not want to be involved in all these, hearsays because he's not the commander-in-chief. He's not the general. Parliament has hardly received, because at least if they were briefed by Parliament, Parliament has hardly received any briefing. Up until as a member of Parliament at least gets a report from the minister, maybe we can begin to listen to him.
Nomvula Mokonyane, the leader of the African National Congress, joining us in studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kuli.